Hey, everybody, it's Dave here. Darren over there. We're your two old bloggers. Been talking about the Minnesota Vikings publicly for over 2 decades apiece. It seems like a long time, but we're waiting for that first glorious year that we can celebrate for the rest of our lives. I want to thank everybody that showed up so far. Sorry we're late. We're dealing with some technical issues all day today. I have no idea why, but we got Doc Proto, we got Justin, the beautiful and wonderful Mary Fisk, Forlorn Hope. Raymond is in the house. He's got a new avatar, too. Good for you, Raymond. It looks great. Mr. Bob Swede. Who else am I missing? The good and wonderful Freddie is here. My worthless opinion. And if I missed anybody, I apologize, but we'll call you out shortly. There's Aaron. He's down here steaming with me today. Well, what do we have on schedule for this day of Two Old Bloggers? 3 themes, as usual. As usual. Now, if I can get my notes up, I'd be all right. It's been one of those kind of days, folks. And to tell you about one of those kind of days, I deleted 5,800 images this morning. Oh, drove me absolutely bat crazy. But we have the technology. We got them back. Just took a while. Our themes today are, first one, the preseason games, winners and losers. Who played well on Thursday? Who didn't? Why? We'll have to find out. And then our second theme is the team went hunting. It had Mr. Hunt in to check on his status and whether it's possible the Vikings might sign another running back. Kareem has been good throughout his career, but is he now? And then our third theme, we're going to take our 2024 free agent spotlight and we're going to shine it on the one, the only, Mr. Kirk Cousins. All that is next on Two Old Bloggers. Vikings First and SKOL presents This Week in Vikings Land with Darren and Dave, your two old bloggers. Hey, everybody, it's me, Dave, again, and Darren over there. How are things in the Great White North? Darren, hopefully your day is going better than mine, other than your microphone setup.
It's going okay, Dave. We're another day, no rain. Fires everywhere.
But we don't have the fires. It could. I mean, something simple would set it off here because we haven't had rain. I think it rained once in the last month, and that was just briefly. It's dry. All the grass is browned out, gone into hibernation. It is. Bleh. And
Same here.
Yeah, but we've got another full week, more than a full week of 100+ degree temperatures. Yay.
Woo.
We'll finally get, I think, looking at the 10-day forecast, day 9 and 10, it drops below 100 for the first time in over a month. So, hey, that's what you get when you live in Texas. We have great winters, though. I do want to say hey to everybody that showed up. Aaron can attest to how warm it is down here. Hopefully the fires will get better, as Dr. Proto says, up there, and you guys won't have to worry as much. It's going to get to the point where they won't have anything else to burn, except for you got tons of space for that to happen.
We do, but I don't know.
Hey, well, let's hope and pray for some rain. All right, let's go on to theme 1. Theme 1, winners and losers. You haven't had the opportunity to talk about the game on Thursday. Let's hear about it.
I have not. Today will be the day. Thursday finally got some Vikings football, sort of. after a long.
And there goes Darren's internet. Yay. And I've got to try to fix why I can't get these to switch to fly in from the bottom. Anyways, bear with us, folks. Bear with us. We're dealing with this today. It's a fun deal. Yes, Anthony, hopefully he does get some crossing lanes. I agree. Dave L., what's up? We're dealing with some technical issues today. Hopefully all that gets fixed. Just like this. Why is it not coming in from another direction? Mary, hello. Hopefully your day is going better than mine. Losers, McBride and Booth. Aaron, I'm going to have to agree with you on that one. I did not see anything promising from either one of those fine gentlemen. And I don't know why. So, can we at least fix this? Put it up top or something. Nope, too far. Now, those were two of the ones I wanted to feature. I'm waiting on Darren to get back. He should get back. We've dealt with this stuff before. Please take a shot and deal with it. Hey, it's a good day for that. I don't know if it's the weather. I don't know if it's sunspots, but we're having all sorts of issues, and it now looks like your internet's back up, so that's good.
I don't know, going to be one of those days, Dave.
It is. We're going to struggle. And you know what I'm going to struggle with? I've got Texas bourbon whiskey, small batch from Fire Oak Distillery down, or not down, but actually up in Liberty Hill, Texas, which is about 45 minutes north of me. It's a very, very, very good. It's got a sweet on the beginning, tastes little botanicals like honeysuckle. Very good whiskey. And as was suggested to me by Dr. Proto, that's how I should deal with it. And I think I'm going to take up his advice. It's a wise man.
I might need some of that to get through the show.
I know. That's what I'm saying. Now, tell us about your winners and losers.
Yeah, so last week talked about how really looking for. We know what happened. Score doesn't matter. Vikings lost. We know why they lost. Neither team played hardly any of their starters, and so what I was really looking for is I was looking for particularly the young guys and the first two draft classes of Kwesi Adofo-Mensah to some of those guys to make some impact plays, do some positive things, and we're going to be looking at, and not only them but the two high-profile undrafted rookie free agents, Ivan Pace Jr. and Andre Carter, looking to see what they would bring to the table. So. Again, winners and losers, who played well, who did not. First guy that was a big winner, I think he's right up there right now, Ty Chandler, second-year running back. The stats weren't eye-popping, 11 carries for 41 yards, 4 catches for 29 yards, but really felt that he ran hard, he ran physical, he showed nice hands out of the backfield. We've seen that before, but really did a good job catching the ball, held up well in pass protection, I think. And also he showed an ability, like Kevin O'Connell mentioned it. Kevin O'Connell talked after the game that he didn't see one time where the first tackler got Ty Chandler down. Ty Chandler always managed to make that guy miss or was not brought down by the first tackler. And I think that's key at the NFL level. And he even showed a good wiggle ability to make the first guy miss in a lot of cases. All important. So really, Ty Chandler, big winner in that game. He got a ton of work in the first half, and he looks like a guy, Dave, that is ready to contribute on Sundays for the Vikings in some sort of role at the running back, not as a special teams guy, but as a running back as a part of our offense. I thought he was a big winner.
I did too, and I watched him specifically on some pass protection reps. And he blew up one blitz, just completely blew it up, took the guy out. And on most of his reps, he looked fantastic And I very much, that is a key, right? I agree with you. He ran well. He seemed to have got it. He seemed to know when the play call was this, he knew where he was going. He knew his reads and where to cut. And we don't see that all the time from running backs. Sometimes that takes a while. It's not always a natural ability thing. But he had it. I thought he had a very, very good game. There was a couple times he was stopped right at the line of scrimmage or a little bit behind it. But part of that may have been one of the loser categories of the game.
Yeah.
And there was issues with that, and I'm sure we'll get into that.
Yeah, I think in a lot of cases where he didn't get a lot, there wasn't a lot for him to get, which is part of the issue. I don't think the offensive line, the guys that were in there had a particularly good day, although Pro Football Focus felt we pass blocked well. They said we only gave up 2 pressures or something like that. I'm not, at least in the first half. I thought there was quite a bit more than that. But anyway, that Ty Chandler, big winner. The second big winner in the game, I thought, it was one that was really surprising to me, was Luiji Vilain, the second-year edge linebacker from last year. He was an undrafted rookie free agent. He'd had some 2 nondescript years at University of Michigan. Drew Bunting would know that well. He went to Wake Forest, had a team-high 9 sacks, then didn't get drafted. We picked him up. He stuck with the team. He suited up for 3 games. Didn't really show anything either in preseason or those 3 games. Didn't get a lot of reps in the games, but against Seattle, he showed up. I felt he had the 1 strip sack, which everybody would have saw of Drew Lock. Also had 3 pressures, and he was a problem for Seattle all night when he was in there. I felt was around the ball a lot, and he had at least 2 of the pressures. He didn't get the sack, but he forced Drew Lock to throw the ball in an uncomfortable position and make a bad incompletion. And if you don't get the sack, David, as a pass rusher, that's the next best outcome of your pass rush.
Yeah, you want to move. You want to make that quarterback feel uncomfortable, and you want to move him. Absolutely.
And make him uncomfortable, move him, and throw a pass either before he wants to or in a way that the pass is not going to be really catchable, which is what happened in 2 of those cases. I thought Vilain was really good. And again, surprising to me, I thought he'd be a roster cut this year. But so really going to look for him in the Tennessee game to see if he builds off of this, because I think he will play a lot again. And maybe it's a case where the Brian Flores defense is really something that suits Vilain's talents, and he's had a year to develop, and he's taking his game to another level. And this is positive day because the Vikings really, really need somebody with pass rush juice outside of Marcus Davenport and Danielle Hunter. And if somebody unexpected like Luiji Vilain can bring that this year, that's a big, 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 big plus for the Vikings defense. So I thought Vilain was a big winner in that game. The third big winner, I thought, and people have already mentioned it, what do you think of Ivan Pace Jr.? Well, again, we've heard he's had a great training camp, lots of kudos from the coaches, from Harrison Smith about Ivan Pace Jr., but would it translate into a game when he actually got up against another team? And I thought on Thursday night, he had some ups and downs for sure, David, but overall, I thought that, he had a pretty good showing, a very encouraging showing. His run defense grades for PFF, I think, was 72.5. His and then he also had a pretty good another grade, I think, and I can't remember his coverage, his pass rush grade was a little bit lower, 66.5, I think it was. His pass coverage grades were very poor. I think it was 47 or 44. That's to be expected. I felt that, but hey, you saw it, Dave. We've heard about it all the time. When he sees a gap, he thinks he knows where that run play is going. He shot through it like he's out of a cannon, with force, with anger, with vengeance, and he blew up a Seattle guard twice, knocked them on their keister. Twice.
That's what I wanted to see. How he handled the big lineman, right? It's one thing to do it at Cincinnati. It's another thing to do it at the NFL level. And he had no fear, none.
No.
It was like a badger. It's like, I don't care how big you are, I'm attacking you. And he tried to rip their face off. And I was impressed. I didn't expect that at all.
There are some guys, though, Dave, that even though they might be 230 pounds, but just the way they're built and the way that
Mm-hmm.
with the way that they go at it, the force that they bring, they play bigger than the 230 pounds. And Ivan Pace Jr. looks like that guy. Like when he hits you, you know it. It doesn't matter
Mm-hmm.
how big you are going to feel it. So really impressed to see how he sees it, he goes gets it, and he goes with it with a vengeance and with force. Now I felt there were some plays where he didn't pick the right gap, and so he ended up shooting it all fine, but he was out of position.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to happen. And on Pat and like in his pass coverage, there were certainly two instances I saw where Pace just kind of looked like he didn't know where he should be.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I think that was probably like the weakness of his game, along with his size anyway, coming out of college. So he'll get there. But hard to believe that this guy was not worth a draft pick by any 32 NFL teams, because this guy can play, baby, and he can play. He's going to make the team. There's no doubt about it in my mind. And I think that I don't know what role he'll have on the defense. He's certainly going to be a special teams, I think, an asset on special teams, and possibly in defense on the defensive side too, an inside linebacker. If Jordan Hicks gets nicked up, or Brian Asamoah gets nicked up, Ivan Pace Jr. he's going to be right in there for playing time, and I don't think that the Vikings are going to be miss a whole lot when he's out there.
Mm-hmm.
Those were the big winners, I felt. I think Aaron mentioned that Jalen Reagor was a winner. I would agree with that. How big of a deal that
he
is.
didn't drop a pass. That, to me, it was surprising. But that was he didn't stop any routes. He ran all his routes. He caught all his passes. He had a good deception on the punt, right? Whereas sailing over his head, and he's like, "Oh no, I got to bring the guys here so they don't down it." Within the 10, and he did the fair catch and then the immediate run up type deal, and he had a good game. Will that last? Is my question.
No, that's a good point. But I think at least it was a positive for him, because Reagor is fighting for a roster spot. I think Brandon Powell played pretty well as also, just Reagor got a few more balls thrown his way. But again, like if you're looking at depth overall, what a luxury if you can say, hey, if one of our top three guys goes down, we can bring in Jalen Reagor and he'll do okay for us. I'm not sold on that, as somebody else has already commented on, but as far as preseason goes, I thought he was a plus. He was a winner. If he keeps on doing this, he will save himself a roster spot on the Vikings. Those are the winners, the main winners. I think the losers, there's a couple that come to mind. One big one, I think Lewis Cine was a loser to me. Now, I liked early in the game, like I think on the first play, there's a pass on the sideline, and he just came shooting through and he took the guy down. But, he missed 3 tackles I saw in that game. And Pete Burchich during the game mentioned, he said, he's coming in too high. That's why he's missing those. And that I've seen that online as well. He is coming in too high, and he should have had those 3 tackles he missed, Dave. He should have had the Seahawks ball carrier down for no gain or very little game each of those times. But he misses the tackle. And at the NFL level, and for a guy like Cine, who played at the CFB with Georgia, was a first-round draft pick, got the best coaching you could possibly hope to have, that's just not good enough for me to be seeing this guy in year 2 to be missing tackles like that. You can see the force he comes in with. He's big, but if he's going to miss tackles like that, you just can't have that at the NFL level. So I thought,
I wonder if he's being taught to tackle that way, the high, the grab, the spin, to protect against concussions or whatever. Because it seems odd to me to go that high on somebody. That goes against everything we've ever been taught throughout football. Now, it may be hey, this is an anti-concussion deal. But on that first rep where he actually made the tackle, I thought he was going to rip the dude's head off.
Yes.
And I'm surprised he didn't get a flag for it.
He went very high on that one.
It was all of his stuff. It was high. And when you're high, the offensive guy can literally bounce you off of him. It's not a point of leverage. You don't have the leverage at that point. That's why you go down. That's why you aim for just underneath the shoulder pads, right? That's where you want to grab. You want, the old classic deal, hit, shoulder, wrap, pick up. That's, the way to tackle. Now, you're not supposed to leading with top of the head spearing, or what used to be called spearing. We learned to bull our neck, lead with our face mask. You can't even do that anymore. But you can, go in with a side to come in off the side of your face to the shoulder. And that's where you wrap and you pick up. That's normal tackling techniques that I'm aware of, unless they're trying to change it to, we don't want you to get a concussion, so you got to play two-hand touch type of BS, because he was ineffective that way. He literally missed tackles because he came in too high and bounced off guys, and it's wrong. And whoever's teaching him that is doing him a disservice.
They sure are, because he's not going to get any playing time unless somebody gets hurt, which we don't want.
Right.
Doing that sort of thing. You just can't have a short tackle and be missing it or getting knocked backwards by the offensive guy because of poor technique on your case. Again, hard to believe that Lewis Cine would be doing that sort of thing, considering the type of ball that he's played growing up.
Georgia. Yeah.
In Georgia, playing against the best of the best in college football, and he's still doing that. I don't think you could get away with that even in the SEC. But anyway, that disappointing to see. Aaron did mention he likes Cine's closing speed, and yes, that is true. Like on those missed tackles, he is coming in much like Ivan Pace Jr. with like full force to knock your head off. But he's the one that's getting knocked back, not the ball carrier. So that's got to be cleaned up. Another loser in a way, again, Andrew Booth Jr. again, mainly because he got burned on that touchdown pass to the undrafted rookie free agent by Jake Bobo. That's not good. But I kind of looked at it two ways, Dave, and I suspect others do not. But at least Booth was out there on the field doing stuff. He was playing. And that's been one of his big problems since he's been with the Vikings. Yeah. He's been in the ice tub the whole time, or in the training room. And he's in his second year, but really I feel it's almost like a rookie year for him, because he didn't get to play very much because he was hurt all the time in training camp and during the regular season last year. And he's really an unseasoned second-year player. So he's got to get on the field. He's got to get reps. He's got to play against the Seahawks and struggle and figure things out at the NFL level. So at least that happened on Thursday. He was out playing in the second half, and it didn't go so well. But I'm not giving up on Booth yet. It's not too late for him to turn things around. But the only way he's going to get to turn it around is to actually stay healthy enough first to get on the football field and play and learn from the mistakes and correct them, and then go out in the field against Tennessee and show what he can do. He was picked as high as he was for a reason. You look at all the scouting reports of Andrew Booth, and he was highly rated. So the talent is there. It's just not coming through right now, and maybe part of that is just lack of playing time.
Let's hope, because
yes,
he's looking like a massive disappointment if he does not turn into anything.
Yes.
So.
No, exactly. Now, so I think those are the winners and losers. You mentioned the offensive line. Yeah, I think overall they struggled to particularly to pass protect for our quarterbacks. And again, one thing I didn't mention in the intro was that was really looking to see, I thought that we'd see some starters, some of the younger presumptive starters play in this game. And Caleb Evans did play. Ed Ingram did play. I was a bit surprised to see Cam Bynum play a bit. He played a few series. And then Brian Asamoah didn't play, and I was kind of what happened there. And we learned yesterday that he was nicked up and they didn't play him. So, because I thought he needs to get in there a bit too. Again, another guy, hasn't played much. I know that he's supposed to be the starter, but I think the Vikings have to see him in preseason and get some reps to feel good about him. Some other interesting things, though, in that game is that Vidarian Lowe played, I think, pretty much the whole game at left tackle. I thought he did okay, but then Blake Brandel was on the inside playing guard. And last year, Brandel was our backup left tackle. Now it looks like maybe Vidarian Lowe is, and Brandel's on the inside because our depth is not very robust on the inside. Just something to look at there.
Not that Brandel played a great left tackle.
No.
But our depth on the interior is miserable. With Reed out, there's nobody. And it's just like, oh, come on, guys. You guys got to step it up. And the pass pro, especially in the second half, with the second and third stringers in there, was horrendous. Jaron Hall was spending most of the night running away, and I don't think that was because he was taking his time making his reads. I think I saw he was under pressure and is like, oh my God.
Yep.
Thankfully, he can scramble. That's one of Hall's better attributes. But the whole line didn't work right. And even in yesterday, KOC had a presser where he talked about Ed. And he said, Ed graded out great for him. They did real well, all except for one play. He did what he was supposed to do. And there's a difference if you look at Ed's PFF pass blocking grade, it's a 50, whatever. And then you look true set, which was a 77. Now, we're talking real small sample size, folks. One game does not make the Super Bowl.
And he may have played 3 series in the first half, Dave?
Yeah, something like that. And the difference between a true set and just pass blocking as a whole is a true pass set is, think of it when the quarterback's dropping straight back and the O-line's immediately going back into pass protection, right? He did well there. He didn't do that well last year doing that, but he did well there. Okay, good. Improvement. We know he's good at run blocking. The difference between a pass blocking grade and a pass blocking grade and a true pass set is that the pass blocking grade has also in it, and I was explaining this to a friend of the show, Ted Glover, has in it all your other types of passes. It has your screens. It has your RPOs. It has anything where there's movement, where the offensive line is first selling the run, right? Play action, right? The first thing an offensive lineman's taught to do, at least back in my day, is take that first step out and engage, or at least look like you're about to engage the defender. When we're talking at this level, that happens too, but there's also plays where we're going wide zone, to the right, to the left, wherever it is you're moving, and you're trying to get that first step is to try to get across that defender's helmet to get on his other side so you can seal him in. And then you drop back into pass protection. And it's that transition from run blocking to pass blocking that Ed seems to have a problem with. He's not the only one. Absolutely, positively not the only one on that offensive line that has that problem. But that seems to be the problem. That and dealing with stunts, right? Seattle did do a lot of stunts against our line, and it confused them. That wasn't the only issue as well. There was a third one. And this is the one that Kevin O'Connell mentioned yesterday in his press conference that he got a little upset with, is that they went up there and the blocking was called, whether it be by the center or by the quarterback of, hey, we're going wall left, we're going to do this, we're going to do whatever. And Ed was like, no, that's the wrong call, and didn't say anything.
Mm-hmm.
And KOC got on him and says, no, if you know it's the wrong call, you need to say something. You need to take that leadership. Yes, you're only in your second year. You need to take that leadership. And he didn't, because Ed was right. It was the wrong call. And I remember, I think it was Tanishka Maskar put out a picture showing him standing all alone. Right tackle had a guy, center, left guard, left tackle had a guy, and there was a rusher off the left edge that was about to hit. I think it was Nick Mullins at the time. And the problem is, was Ed doing anything wrong? Absolutely not. He didn't have anybody to block. There was nobody there. And everybody else was already being occupied. The problem was the call on the offensive line for the correct blocking was way wrong to have him standing out there and doing nothing. This is not just what we saw on Thursday. Everybody got all upset about, oh my God, this offensive line stinks. Well, first off, you're looking at second and third stringers for the most part.
Oh, yes.
And we know we do not have quality depth anywhere on that offensive line. Even Oli Udo didn't look as good as he did last year, right? So, and people, well, Dave, you got to go get them. Where? They don't exist. That's the problem. They're not coming out of college all ready to go. It's taking time. They literally don't exist anymore. So it's taking time. So we've got to put out the best and train the best. I look forward to this Wednesdays and Thursdays practice, or Thursday and Friday, or whenever the joint practice is with Tennessee this week, to see all those guys, the starters, to get together and working together. And there was good news out of camp today. Brian O'Neill was in full pads and taking full participation, banging heads with the best of them. He's on track to be back and starting as of week 1. But it's going to take those guys getting together. And then hopefully the second stringers or whoever comes in to play backup learns in the meantime to identify the right, how the defense is set, and then set the correct blocking scheme, and then to execute said blocking scheme, to learn how to deal with stunts when you have defenders crossing your face, doing different things, when you have defenders trying to bull rush you, to speed rush you, to do whatever, how to deal with each of those situations and to do it as a cohesive unit. If the Vikings can do that, not just on the first string, we expect the first string to be better this season. They have to be. People's jobs are on the line. They must be. And I suspect they will be. But the backups need to be better as well. And if I'm not seeing any progression after this season, I'm seriously looking at Crumpf, I think that's his name, the offensive line coach, and saying, hey, dude, you're not pulling your weight. I don't care how much we like you.
Chris Cooper.
Yeah. You need to teach these guys and bring them up to speed. Yes, I agree. They're not coming out of college that way, but you've got to do it now, right? And then they've got to work on the off-season stuff, how to better do it, right? I'm hearing Ed Ingram lost weight. He was told to lose weight. And then to me, that was just, I was like, what? Why? Offensive linemen need to be big. Yes, they can put on more muscle and trim down and get leaner and look like Adonises that weigh 300 pounds. Sure, I have no problem with that. But you don't generally want to get lighter as an offensive lineman. You lose power a lot of times when you get lighter. And playing offensive line, especially in the interior, is all about power. So it's frustrating to me. I want to see them get with, and I know there's retired linemen that are starting lineman camps and doing all sorts of things, and they're trying to bring these guys up. They're trying to catch to where there's receivers and quarterback camps, have been going on, especially quarterback camps for well over a decade now, where they're actually grooming these kids from junior high school on up in these positions. And they're now trying to start that with linemen because they need it, because they don't play the same style of line in college as they do here, as they do in the NFL. But if they start to learn it early, they'll be more ready by the time they hit the NFL. And good offensive linemen make good bank, especially left tackles. But all of them can make good bank. I mean, good guards will make into the teens, 12, 15 million a year. So they've got to be able to do it. But it is, Aaron, you said guards can be lighter, right? To pull, et cetera. No, you don't need that. If your guards are pulling, when we played power back in the day, where it was mano y mano, we're just going to beat you up one-on-one, right? And the bigger, the better. Think of the Dallas offensive lines way back when they had Aikman and those guys. It was just, we're going to outsize you. Your guard's still going to pull, but it's a shorter distance. If a right guard's pulling to go right to knock somebody out, an edge that's coming that way because the tackle's blocking down, it's still a shorter distance. It's a simple step out, go. He can still do that. It's not like he's sprinting for 40 yards. He's maybe going 3 or 5. That's it. It's a quick burst. And weight isn't, being lighter isn't going to help you that much. And especially if you're going against big guys on the other end. Luckily, most defense is starting to downsize as well. But I don't know. Norris Fias, good to see you, my friend. Shane, good to see you. Steak meat. Yes, steak sounds good there, Shane. But Sunday for me is pizza day. All right, continue. I took over. Sorry.
You just got a 20 minute soliloquy on offensive lineman from Dave Stefano.
Surprising. Shocking, huh?
Where it used to be Irv Smith Jr. was my guy to get on the high horse about. Ed Ingram is Dave Stefano's trigger. You mention Ed Ingram, and then away Dave goes for half an hour maybe. But yeah, I just a few little things that
could be Ezra too.
True.
Just
a few other things about the preseason game, like this year the 2023 rookie class. Jordan Addison. Hey man, the guy's ready to go. Like if he's not our number 2 by game 5, I'll be very surprised. 3 targets, should have had 2 catches. That toe tapping one on the sideline was a thing of beauty. Somehow they didn't call it a reception, but either way, I mean, this guy looks like he's ready to go. Jay Ward, Mekhi Blackman, Dwayne McBride, more quiet nights. I think Mekhi Blackman had one nice pass breakup, and then he got called for like a holding on the first touchdown by Seattle. And Jay Ward was in there later. He made a few tackles, but nothing too spectacular. Dwayne McBride also did not have a great night running the ball. He ran hard. Aaron was mentioning it, though. As he ran hard, he showed that good contact balance that we read about in the scouting reports. But the guy did not make one tackler miss. No wiggle. So he's got to learn to do that. Pete Persich mentioned that too. Said maybe the reason he's not in the game and Smith is in the game is because the coaches aren't seeing him making that first tackler miss. So a bit disappointing for him. But again, lots of time there. Andre Carter, it was good to see him on the field. He got quite a bit of reps there late in the second half. In the third, almost had a sack. But Drew Lock kind of did a bit of a juke on him. Mm-hmm. But he's going to be an interesting guy, Dave, because, if the reputation, the sacks he had 2 years ago at Army, it'll be interesting because he's an undrafted free agent. If he doesn't make the 53 and we try to put him on the practice squad, does he get picked up by somebody else? So the Vikings, I think, are going to have an interesting decision with Carter. If he does okay, but not outstanding enough to make the team, I think another team will snap him up because of his potential, and he wouldn't be on the practice squad long. So that may factor into roster decisions. Final guy to mention is just Jaron Hall at quarterback. Again, the stats were terrible. Wasn't able to get the offense moving at all, but I think pretty tough to grade him, as a lot of other people have mentioned. Just he was under pressure the whole time. He made that one nice back shoulder throw to N'Keal Harry, who has been mentioned by a commenter as maybe having a shot at making the roster. Don't know about that, but I feel that Hall he was playing with third and fourth stringers, guys who aren't even going to make the practice squad. So it's tough for him. The issue is that those are going to be the guys he's going to be playing with, I think, against Tennessee and in the final game. So he's got to find a way to make the offensive function and have some positive drives with those bad players and build off of that, because I don't think he's not going to be playing with Jordan Addison in this preseason or Justin Jefferson or anything like that. So he's going to have to find a way to shine despite the crap that he's having to play with. Aaron mentioned it, and I did like the fact that in his press conference availability, he answered questions confidently. He didn't seem down. He said he was happy to have gotten the opportunity to play. Looks like a very level-headed guy, and who takes things and processes them and says, okay, I didn't do that well. I'm going to build off of that. And you really need that attitude in this league because it tears you down pretty bad. Yeah. And so, I like Hall's attitude, if nothing else, and waiting to see more out of him. But just some few observations from that first preseason game, and waiting to see what more we might learn in the Tennessee game.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Got a few questions to answer. Somebody asked me what kind of pizza I like. I like very good pizza. Unfortunately, here in Austin, you can't find it, so I settle for mediocre pizza. There's not enough Italians down here that know how to make pizza. Best pizza is up on, go on the upper East Coast. Sorry, but you can't find it down here in Texas. Get Tex-Mex food, absolutely fabulous. Best tacos in the world. Pizza, not here. Somebody asked my experience. I played in high school. I was recruited out of high school to 5 different Ivy League schools. I was just barely over 6 feet at the time, played tight end and defensive end. I was being recruited to play tight end. Only Tufts University wanted me to play rugby. All the others was football. I went, joined the military afterwards. Life changes, gets in the way. Didn't go immediately to college. I went to a military college, but joined the military. Then went on to England, played on this was back in the 80s. We still had full contact football. Each base had their own team. I was a part of that, and I was also helping the semi-pro team in Swindon down there with some of their stuff is what I was doing. Came back to the States, coached on the base level, different levels. Also did high school coaching for quite a while before. Once I rolled about 40, 42, it was enough. Then it was just coaching for, a few years, and then got busy with life and going back overseas and doing all sorts of other stuff. That's my experience. I grew up playing almost every position on the offense, defensive line. I settled in on tight end, defensive end. I know them all well. Coached most positions on the football field. So that's where I get my knowledge from. But I absolutely love line play and have studied it for years. So that's where it comes from. Aaron suggests I go to the Pint House. At least there's beer. Yes. Oh, there's good alcohol in Austin, whether it be beer or whiskey or vodka or whatever. There's great. No, not in Minnesota. Actually, in New Hampshire. Nashville, New Hampshire. So, anyways, now on to theme 2. Going hunting.
Yes, a little bit of off the field news on Friday, Dave, where we learned that Kareem Hunt the Vikings are having Kareem Hunt in for a visit. The looks like it's going to be the ex-Browns running back, and an interesting visit because why are they bringing in Kareem Hunt? They've all through the offseason, Kevin O'Connell's been busy pumping the tires on Alexander Madison, who we think is going to be the number 1 running back for the Vikings, and how pleased he is with Madison and how he's ready to take the next step. And he's also been pumping the tires a bit on Ty Chandler, and we saw in the preseason game in Seattle with, it looks like, good reason. Mm-hmm. And then you've got that Kwesi Adofo-Mensah and Kevin O'Connell that, remember, in April on day 3 of the draft, they seemed like pumped that they got Dwayne McBride in the 7th round, said he was but they had him rated in the 4th round or something like that.
Right.
So they were pumped to get him. I was too, because he'd been ultra productive at UAB. And then with Kenny Nwangwu, we've always, I think a lot of us have always been intrigued. Hey, if that great speed he has that works so well on kickoff returns, if there be a way we could incorporate him in the running back in a larger role. So we were interested to see what Kenny Nwangwu could do. But felt like it's a pretty crowded running back room right now. So where would Kareem Hunt fit into that? I think one of the reasons they brought him in is that, even though they've been pumping the tires on Madison and Ty Chandler, I think there's still legitimate questions about how effective this running back unit with Alexander Madison as your number one is going to be for the Vikings compared to what it has been when Dalvin Cook has been the bell cow for 5-6 years. So Kareem Hunt is a guy who's a known commodity, Dave, of course. Had a great rookie season with the Chiefs, some very strong seasons after that with the Chiefs and the Browns. Last year was probably his worst season as a pro. But again, he's 28. He's a known commodity, a very good pass catcher out of the backfield. If you're concerned about how these four younger running backs are going to do, you bring in Kareem Hunt and you can feel you've improved your depth, and you've got a guy who's a pro who's proven it at the NFL level. So that'd be one reason you'd bring him in. I think the other thing is that clearly, the outside folks, there doesn't seem to be a lot of love for the Vikings right now. They won so many one-score games last year. They went 13-4, but they're actually a 7-10, an 8-9 team. Really, they got no chance to make the.
Yeah, they got rid of their best players on defense.
Yeah. So I don't think there's a lot of love outside for the Vikings, and people think they're going to take a big step back. But I think Kwesi Adofo-Mensah and Kevin O'Connell do not feel that way. They feel that they've got a very good chance to repeat as NFC champions and go to the playoffs again and make some noise. And so they are looking for players, veterans who are available, who can strengthen the roster and make our offense and defense more dangerous. That's why you visit with Kareem Hunt if he's available. That's why you bring in Dalton Reisner for a visit when your depth on the interior on the offensive line is not that great. That's why you bring in a Ronald Darby at corner, because you've got a bunch of young corners. Other than Byron Murphy, you don't really know what they are there. You don't want a season to go south because your corners can't cover anybody. So, doing your due diligence with those guys. And I applaud that. I think that if you look at like Dalvin Cook and Kareem Hunt, you look at their PFF grades, pretty similar. They've had some strong grades. The past couple for Cook, PFF didn't think as much of him, as highly as him. And last year, Hunt's grades were low, as was his production. Mm-hmm. But, you should be, as a front office and a coaching staff, you can never stand still at the NFL level. You got to continuously be looking every day, every week at, is there a guy out there who can make us better at a position, especially in some of these spots like guard, like running back, and even corner, where injuries happen a lot to the guys that you have. And you could have Alexander Madison now, and in 2 weeks' time, he could be gone for the year. And if that's the case, you've brought in a Kareem Hunt, and you've gotten a chance. I think if there's an injury in those positions, you've met with Reisner, you've met with somebody like Darby, you've met with Hunt. That gives you, I think, a leg up on the process of replacing them if injuries hit, because you brought them in, you get an idea for how they might fit with the team, how quick, do they seem like a good guy for the chemistry of your team? And if you need to make a replacement quickly, you don't have to bring him in for a visit. You've already done that. So I think that's good for our front office to be proactive like that. And it works the same way for the player too, Dave, because if I'm Kareem Hunt and if the Vikings call me a second time, well, I've already visited there. I've already met with the coaching staff. Do I like them? Do I think I can work with them? What kind of role do they think I will have in the offense? Do I feel that suits where I am at my career now? The training facilities, the training staff, do they seem top notch? Can I be happy working there, living there, playing there? You don't have to. Kareem Hunt could make the decision now if he gets called and they want to give him an offer. He doesn't have to make a visit. He doesn't have to visit with the team, check out the facilities. So he's already done that. So it could be, if they need him, it could be a quick process on both ends on giving him an offer. And if there's an emergency situation with an injury, give him an offer. And then you've got a veteran who you can plug in and play and probably not have to worry about what kind of production you're going to get. A disaster
coming in. Yeah. Freddie, I was actually a kid in Minnesota. I grew up in the Twin Cities. where I went to my first game, but moved all over after that. So
Now the Vikings have not signed any of these vets that they've brought in yet. That doesn't mean that they won't, but normally, if you bring them in and you don't sign them initially, usually you don't end up signing them at all. But we'll see. But I still think, hey, take a look, find out where the interest is, find out where if the price points can work for you and for them. And then if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But you've given it a shot. You've done your due diligence. And you've got to do that all year round, with the rosters and with the way the season can, and injuries and off the field issues that might happen with certain players that make them unavailable when you need them to be available.
Mm-hmm. I agree. It's good to have these guys on the proverbial roller decks or in your favorites on your phone. So if something happens, all they got to do, Crazy's got to do, hey, we got a spot open. Vetmin, you good? We'll give you, additional incentives, blah, 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 blah. Good. We got a plane ticket waiting for you. Be at the airport in, 2 hours.
Yeah.
And that's it. And suddenly we've got things replaced. I think it's a good idea.
I guess there's some people out there will be wondering, well, how come you didn't bring Dalvin Cook in again? You already know what he is. I think that one, that door is closed now.
Burned. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Freddie, no, I don't think Darren grew up in Minnesota.
Sure not. I didn't grow up anywhere in the U.S. I'm a Canadian.
Hey.
Yeah.
No, that's as for Kareem Hunt, he's past his prime. He's just like Dalvin Cook. They're on the backside of that slope for a running back. Did he have a great career? Was he great early? Absolutely. But I think it's just, checking that box in case of emergency, call Kareem Hunt type deal.
Yeah, in case of emergency, break glass and call your running back.
And I think that's all it is. Now, speaking of running backs and boo-boos, injuries, Kene Nwangwu was out. We didn't see him on Thursday's game because he is supposedly dinged up. And then McBride, now there's questions about McBride, whether he's even rosterable as of right now. He'd probably make it to the practice squad because if other teams looked at what he did on Thursday, nobody's going to care that he, gets cut, and then we can pick him up on the practice squad. So if you keep 3 plus CJ Ham, that's obviously Matty, Nwangwu, and Chandler. There may be a room for a 4th that's not named McBride in there. So who knows? It'd be good to have a crusty old vet back there as well. But he's not going to start. Matty's got to start.
Will Ludford had Nwangwu being the cut on the Daily Norseman in his latest roster projections. He did not. He felt that his only the only thing he does is return kickoffs, right? And there's less and less kickoffs being returned. So you're not going to keep a roster spot for a guy who returns 30-some kicks a year and doesn't do anything else.
However,
we shall see.
Warren writes some good stuff, but now we're getting into we don't have enough running backs, and then that's a problem too. On to
Freddie, my favorite CFL team is the Ottawa Red Blacks.
Our free agent spotlight for next year, and it is the one, the only, the savior from Michigan State, Mr. Kirk Cousins.
Yes, for those who are new to the show, we've been past few weeks we've been looking at potential 2024 free agents for the Vikings and whether they can be, and should be re-signed by the Vikings in 2024 if they hit the free agency market. And we've got to everybody's favorite, Kirk Cousins today. He's a guy that Viking fans have been giving this guy a lot of crap. Both of us have at times too, Dave, since he got signed in 2018, right? he's as durable as they come, and guaranteed he's going to throw 4,000 yards and around 30 touchdowns every year for you. You know that. But then the questions are, well, is he a leader? Is he a winner? Can he, elevate teammates to another level? Can he put the team on his back? He doesn't make the playoffs.
Wait till garbage time.
Yeah, those questions have always been up there. And he started to chip away at that narrative a fair bit last year with all the comeback wins, and then the more carefree, relaxed Kirk Cousins, who's on the airplane with no shirt on and the chains and all that sort of stuff. So, and then his appearance in the NFL Films series quarterback, where we got to see him at home in a controlled environment, but got to see his preparation, how much pain he deals with, what he does to get prepared as a player. That garnered him, I think, a fair bit of respect. But still, 5 years with the Vikings, they made the playoff twice, 1 and 2 in playoff games, and that included a one and done last year after you went 13-4 and won the NFC North Division title. Now, though the record in that, not all on Kurt, and of course he played very well in the loss to the Giants for the most part. So that was more on the defense than him, but it is what it is. That's the situation. Those are, the record and the facts for Kirk Cousins, and it's led to questions about every year, what's his future with the team? The Vikings, and more questions this year, of course, because the Vikings front office and Cousins team decided not to get do the third extension since he's been here, a contract extension since he's been here with Minnesota, and to let things play out. And so now he's set to be a free agent potentially at the end of the 2023 season. So the big question for the Vikings, for Kwesi Adofo-Mensah, for Kevin O'Connell, for Kirk Cousins is, should the Vikings extend him, and can they? I think with Kirk Cousins, I think since his first contract went up, it's always been, I think, a difficult spot and a difficult decision for the Vikings because, Cousins has given us statistically production that the Vikings have had never at the quarterback position. Now, Fran Tarkenton, I think if you kind of tried to different eras, but I think if you put Fran Tarkenton into this era, he's going to come up with similar stats and actually better on the running side of things than Kirk Cousins is doing, I think. But you can't do that. But anyway, statistically, Cousins has put up stats that in every year that no Viking quarterback has done. The odd Viking quarterback like Brett Favre in 2009, they did it for 1 year, but they didn't do it after that. So that's what you're looking at. But then again, the record, the playoff record, the overall record, the lack of consistently making the playoffs under Cousins, that's on him too. So for the Vikings, always a difficult decision. For them, the problem is, of course, there's no heir apparent on the roster right now. Nick Mullins is a backup. Jaron Hall is an untested 5th-round rookie. And so you don't have anybody that you can move on from if you decide to let Cousins go. The other thing is that with Cousins this year, the Vikings are not in rebuilding tank mode, David. They're looking to make the playoffs again. They've got a roster that, even if things go very badly, I would see, at worst case, I think this team finishes like 7-10 or 8-9 at worst case. That is not going to get you into the top 3, give you a top 3 pick in the NFL draft so you can go after a hotshot college quarterback like Caleb Williams or Drake May. So the Vikings aren't going to be bad enough, and they're not in tank mode, so they can be in position to get a franchise guy if they decide to move on from Cousins. Or they'd have to give up a ton of draft capital and maybe even some key players on their team to trade up to do that. I don't know. I don't know if Kwesi Adofo-Mensah, being the guy who measures, analytics and the cost benefits of that, whether he'd be wanting to give up so much draft capital to move up in the top of a draft when picking a college quarterback is very much a crapshoot. So yes, that's a difficult. Yeah.
And we had Caleb Williams up there. Williams is regarded as the generational talent. It's going to go number 1. Most of people have studied the draft say generally the first and second quarterback off the board generally aren't the ones that make it. It's usually the third one. And it's just because the draft is so finicky and people are identifying them. Now, whether they had generational talent or not, that's a different story. Whether it be when, what's his name? Come on, David. Manning. When Manning came out of Tennessee, they thought he was generational, right?
Yes.
They were correct, even though his first year sucked. It's a crapshoot, but it's a better odds in the first round than it is in the second, than it is in the third, than it is in the fourth, and it's below zero in the fifth, and then it starts to go back up sixth and seventh. But so it's whether they draft somebody or could be high enough to grab. Say, maybe they want Caleb Williams. If we finish 10 wins, obviously we're probably going to be drafted in the 20s-ish, as usual.
Yes.
What would it take to get that high in the draft? You're going to have to trade a boatload. Whole draft, next year and the year after first sort of type stuff to get there. So it's going to be interesting to see how they address it. But it's going to be interesting to see what Kirk does this year.
It is. And I think my feeling is that right now, like, again, there's all those things you're looking at, like as to the Vikings being in a difficult position. The other difficult thing is that even if you look to re-sign Kirk Cousins, it's not going to be cheap, of course. Now,
No.
Justin Herbert just signed a 5-year, $262 million contract, which is around $52 million annual. Now, I don't think Kirk Cousins at age 35, and you've brought this up before, Dave, at 35, he turns 35 on August the 19th. And at 35, that's when sort of quarterbacks, their level of play really starts to go downhill, as durable as it is. So at age 35, I don't think Kirk Cousins is going to get Justin Herbert money, but that's going to be a starting point for his team in any negotiations. And he's going to get big money, assuming he has a year similar to what he had last year and the year before. He's going to get big money if he hits the free agent market. So It's not going to be cheap. And do you want to sink money into Cousins at 35 when you've also got Justin Jefferson you got to sign and pay, and you got Christian Darrisaw that you got to pay? I just feel that at the end of this year, unless Cousins somehow gets us to the Super Bowl and we win it, I think Kwesi Adofo-Mensah and Kevin O'Connell are going to say, hey, as nice as the nice things we've said about Kirk and as much as we like him, it's time for us to move on. And that they're not going to sink the big commitment, an extra 2 or 3 years and big financial commitment into Kirk Cousins. I think they're going to let him go elsewhere, and that they're going to look to sign a bridge guy. Not a lot of the potential free agent quarterbacks to be is not very impressive, but hey, Gardner Minshew turns 28 and be a free agent at the end of the year, and hey, he'd be an affordable bridge guy who's got some upside that maybe the Vikings could try to live with for a couple of years. You do that, you're also at the same time developing potentially Jaron Hall and seeing what he has. And I think you're also looking at the draft in 2024 at whatever round to see if there's a guy that you like that you're going to draft. It could be early, could be a little bit later again, like Hall, but I think that's where the Vikings are going to go, barring a Super Bowl win. And if we get a Super Bowl win, all bets are off. But I think that it's getting to a point where the Vikings have got Kwesi Adofo-Mensah in particular and Kevin O'Connell. They've got to take a shot at their guy, at their quarterback, at their franchise guy. And I don't think re-signing and extending a 35-year-old Kirk Cousins is where they feel is the best chance at doing that. And now the Wilfs have got to be on board with that kind of thing. And if you get it wrong, you got to know that Kevin O'Connell's got to know that I'm probably going to get fired in 2 years, and Kwesi Adofo-Mensah might get fired in 2 years as well. But these are the decisions that can be franchise altering either way. Mm-hmm. And I think that, continuing to go the Kirk Cousins route at some point, that's going to have very diminishing returns for the Vikings. And especially if Cousins goes the way of Matt Ryan, where every year after 35, he just getting worse and worse and worse. And you're paying a quarterback a fair amount of money, but your record is still crap.
There's a whole history of that in the Super Bowl era. where 35 is that magic number for quarterbacks. There's a couple of exceptions, and yes, everybody says, Tom Brady. Yeah, Tom Brady's an exception. Aaron Rodgers is an exception. But most of them, you start to see their level of play go down around 35. Some of it's 33, 34, 35, 36, but they all start that over the hill descent right about that time. And there's really only been 2 or 3 that have not and have still succeeded. So will Kirk be one of those? Let's hope so.
Yes.
Like I said, take us to the promised land. Have that February parade downtown Minneapolis. I'm all for it. Yes, let's do that. And then pay him the money. I don't care at that point. We can celebrate for years. But until then, it's going to be an interesting decision on the team's point. Now, got the Wilfs up there. I think the Wilfs like him because, especially after quarterback and all the good press, he's highly favored. That means people are buying number 8 jerseys. They want to come to the games and watch him and all that sort of stuff. But it's going to be an interesting season. So,
but even Mark Wolf this week, when he was asked, very coy in non-committal, looking forward to Kirk Cousins this season, looking forward to what he can do for us this season, did not say make any commitment to beyond this season, which Kevin O'Connell and Kwesi Adofo-Mensah have been doing the same thing. It's all been about this season and not even addressing beyond that. And that's good messaging to have out. That's the right way to play it. You don't want to be saying, hey, we'd love to have him back, and then that hurts your bargaining position later on. But they're laying the groundwork for post-Kirk Cousins era in Minnesota already. Whether that happens or not, we'll see. I think a lot of it, again, depends on what the Vikings do in 2023 and how far they go making the playoffs and how far they go in the playoffs. As to what the Vikings do. But I think short of getting to the Super Bowl is a minimum for them to bring back Kirk Cousins at whatever price. And I would even make the argument that even if you win it, don't do what the Baltimore Ravens did. And Joe Flacco was younger at that point.
Right.
Maybe you just cut your losses right there and say, hey, thanks for the memories, Kirk. Really appreciate you getting us that Super Bowl win, but it's doubtful you'll get us a second one. We're going to try to find a guy who can get us a second one.
That would be cold. I don't know.
It would be very cold and very unpopular. I
Here, we'll put your name up in the Ring of Honor. Don't worry. That would be cold. But it's going to be interesting. Hey, I want the Vikings to succeed this year. I think they can. I think they are well equipped to. And Kirk Cousins will be part of that, and I hope he does. So,
well, yeah, you make no mistake. If the Vikings are going to repeat as the division champs and make the playoffs and go more than one and done, Kirk Cousins has got to play like he did last year or better. I think, and I think I have no concerns about him playing well this year. We've got the offense to do it, even with our offensive line issues. If he succeeded in it the past 5 years in Minnesota with the offensive line we had, it's not any worse now and probably should be a lot better. I feel that he's going to be perform at a high level like he usually does, and put us in a position to have the opportunity to win most of the games that we play.
Yep. So, hey, it's going to be interesting. Well, that brings us to the end of the show. Any last words? What are you looking forward to this week? Titans are coming to town.
Yeah, there's the joint practices and then the game on Saturday. And that's really, again, looking forward to seeing guys like Luiji Vilain and some of the rookies and second-year guys to see, again, Ivan Pace Jr. Does he build on what happened in Seattle? Because it's all good to get very hyped and excited about one performance, but maybe the next game isn't so good, and then you get down and doubt what you saw in the first game. So really looking to see if those guys show some consistency, and then that'll make me feel even better about guys like Ty Chandler and Ivan Pace Jr., and also looking for some bounce backs and improvements from guys like Lewis Cine and Andrew Booth Jr. and some of the offensive line backups who didn't maybe play as well against Seattle and were a bit concerned about.
Shane, when it comes to Dalton Reisner, nobody knows why. He supposedly reportedly wanted to be guaranteed a starting position, and they said no, you had to compete. So, didn't happen. And we don't know if it's money. I watched last week's show. I give you a whole list of possibilities of what could have happened. No idea. And everybody thinks Reisner's better. He's better at pass blocking. He's not better at run blocking. And it depends what they want to emphasize. So who knows? Who knows? Who knows? Who knows? Gary's talking about being late. Any other live shows tonight? I don't know if there's more live shows on Sunday night there, Gary. Justin would know. I think he has the whole schedule of everybody in Vikings Land that does it. I saw Rap on here today, which is great. It's good to see Rap and Justin and SKOL Mafia and everybody that's here. Norsefius, if you know my Twitter handle, please shoot me a message. I want to get in touch with you. Raymond, good. But that's it. Any last words, everybody?
Not at all. No. Happy thanks to everybody for tuning in and having patience with our technical issues.
Yeah, they were bad today. We aren't the only one. Score North had a whole slew of them this week. It was sort of funny. And then it rotated to us. So, Norsefield is saying Justin will be live tonight. Great. Good. I'll get to watch that. Absolutely fantastic. What do we say?
We say, SKOL Vikings, baby.
SKOL Vikings.
Like, subscribe, and ring the bell. And rate us on your favorite podcast aggregator. Darren and Dave, thank you for watching this episode of Two Old Bloggers. We look forward to seeing you on every show on the new Vikings First and SKOL. You can find our podcasts as part of the Fans First Sports Network. Sports takes for the fan, from the fan. SKOL, everybody!